Hi, it's Pete Chasar again. I'm here at the Manley Arts Center, Pelican Bay Art Association's Manley Arts Center. And once again, we're going to do an Artist of the Month interview. I'd like to remind you that behind the scenes are Rachel Gates, who is our gallery coordinator, and Garrett Smith, who is running the camera, and our director. And today we're going to talk to photographer Calvin Casey. And again, this is an interesting thing because normally we don't do too many, I don't think we've done any, Rachel, any photographers yet in this series. Now, it's unfortunate that we have to do the series this way with the podcasts versus live interviews, but this is the name of the game today with COVID. Let's get right into it. Calvin, you have as your background, you're a photographer, you have as your background, you were in law enforcement, you're a veteran. When you served in law enforcement, where did you serve? And actually, I'm going to ask you a little bit more about your background than you had in your bio.
Okay.
Because I like to know where artists come from as far as grew up and stuff like that. So maybe even go back further. Where did you grow up?
I grew up, I was born in El Monte and grew up there till I was 14.
Is that El Monte, California?
El Monte, California,
Okay.
yes. And from there, that was like kind of the big city. It's about 30 or 40 miles, I want to say, east of Los Angeles, if I'm correct. If I think I'm right on that. But anyway, yeah, it's right next to Los Angeles. And we moved up here back in '87, moved to Crescent City.
Interesting.
Yes, and loved Crescent City, and went to high school there, had a great time, and then in 1990, after I graduated high school, I spent a couple years where I just felt kind of lost after high school.
Well, I think we all had that.
Oh yeah, and I didn't know what to do, and with myself, and I decided to join the Army, and which I have no regrets on that because the Army, the military in general, they just teach you things that money can't buy, and so I'm very grateful for that. And I got to go do security for the '96 Olympics, which was really a cool experience.
Interesting.
Yes, and I was deployed to Saudi Arabia in 1994 with a group of people, and we went over there and were there for about 3 to 4 months. Did that, so I got to go out of country and got to see a lot of things. And then in 2003, I joined the Department of Corrections. And my main reason to doing that is I wanted to get in law enforcement, and I wanted to come back up here because I just loved it up here, And at the time, I was living back in Southern California. You kind of find your way back there, and I wasn't very happy down there. Which a lot of people, just too many. I don't want to say too many people. Just there's too much congestion.
I know that feeling too.
Yep, and I just love the area. It's kind of like a slow paced.
Right.
People are easygoing, and down there it's real tense, and people are going from point A to point B, and there's a lot of traffic and stuff like that. So I decided to come up, to make the move, which was a big, huge move because I had a really good paying job because I worked at a place called Roadway Express.
Okay.
And I transitioned from that into the Department of Corrections and went to the academy, and I had to spend a year in Los Angeles working at the prison there in LA County.
Wow.
And in Lancaster, and then from there I transferred up here, which I didn't think I was going to get it at the time because a lot of people come up here to retire.
Sure.
And my seniority level was 0. I was a brand new guy, and then within a year they at first, when I told them what I wanted to do, they're like, "You'll never get it." And then it was like 8 months later, they're like, "Hey, turn your packet in because you might just get it." And so I did, and within 2 weeks, they're like, "Hey, you're approved to go." And I go, "Well, when do I need to be up there?" And they go, 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I just gave a bunch of my stuff away and just started life all over again.
So when did that career transition to what you're doing now?
Well, I think it helps me with my photography.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
How does that relate to your photography?
Well, with being a correctional officer or in law enforcement just in general, you have to pay attention to details.
Okay.
And be aware of your surroundings. And they kind of train you, they instill that in you. And they kind of did in the military too. There was a little bit of the military training was involved with that too. But being a correctional officer just really enhanced that.
Okay.
And, and they teach you to just be aware of your surroundings, everywhere you go, and pay attention to things because, like in case you have to identify somebody, you gotta know all the little details.
Right, right.
And
So when did you actually make the transition though? When did you start doing serious photography like you're doing
about
now?
4 years ago.
Okay, so that's pretty recent.
Yes. So yes, that's pretty recent. But I do think my love of photography goes way back to when I was a kid. When I really think about it.
Okay.
I remember when I was in the 6th grade. We made it. We were living in El Monte, and we made a trip up to a place called Colville, Washington, and we went up on the Columbia River, which was a really neat place. And there was all this sandstone there, and I remember my dad bringing a Kodak Instamatic camera, and he gave it to me with like 3 things of film, and I just went nuts with that camera. And I remember when I look back on it, I remember like getting down there and taking shots, like low angle shots, and doing all that stuff. So I think it was really something I just didn't realize till I was
Sure.
older. So it just, so I think I had the love of photography for like a long time, but I didn't really realize it till just recent,
Right.
within the last 4 or 5 years.
Now, speaking of cameras, today I understand you use a Sony A7R4?
Yep.
I have no idea what that is. Could you explain for
Oh, it's
the rest of us?
a full frame camera. It's a mirrorless, and it has a 61 megapixel sensor.
Okay.
And a lot of this, and I have several different lenses that I use. It all depends on what kind of style of photography I want to do. Like for the city, I'll use my ultra wide angle, which is
Okay.
a 12 to 24. And
that's actually your favorite, isn't it?
It
'Cause
is.
I read that in your bio.
yes,
That's your favorite.
I love doing like street photography, and
And why is that particular lens your favorite?
probably because say something like at a gas station, where they put the gas in, they have like the caps over the tanks. You take
Okay.
a picture of that. That's something that somebody stumbles across it every day. But when you take a picture of it and it's at a certain angle, you look at it kind of differently. And people have commented on some of my pictures. They're like, I walk by that every day, and I've never have seen it like that before. And it's amazing that and a lot of photographers have that. To do that. The different.
Sure.
Your different. What's the word I'm trying to think? This is my first interview, by the way.
You're doing great.
Yeah, but your different perspective,
Okay.
yes. So that's that's something that I just I have a sense of pride when somebody looks at that and one of my pictures says I've never seen that before, and they're so amazed
Yeah.
by how it looks.
That leads me to a comment I wanted to make about, and I wanted to see how you felt. I see a bold simplicity in your photography,
Mm-hmm.
and that is that deliberate? Is that, or am I being accurate? How do you see what you're doing? Is it bold simplicity? What is it?
Oh, I try to keep everything simple, as far as the pictures, but like say for instance that blue heron, that was taken over at Jerry's jet boats over there in Gold Beach, and when I saw it, I saw that background. I was like, I hope this guy flies right by that background so I get a good picture because I just love the colors, So I try to keep it somewhat simple, but it's kind of being kind of artistic too because I kind of have the picture already in my head. I just I want to make sure everything's in the right position to do it.
Sure. Now, do you ever do setup photography, or is it?
Very rarely, but on occasion.
Okay.
On occasion, I want to eventually learn how to use more lighting, because that's something I'm kind of weak at. Is like indoor lighting,
Right.
and that's something I want to, like portraits. I have an interest in doing like portraits and stuff like that. I really love black and white photos.
Yes, I do too.
Yes.
There's a certain amount of graphic intensity to black and white that you don't have with color.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's a kind of a different animal.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And what do you like about the black and white as opposed to color?
I think I like the texture of it, and it's got a nostalgic feel to it.
Yes.
Is what I like about it, and it kind of brings you back to the old film days when
Yes.
people were using, like medium format cameras, like Ansel Adams,
Right.
and pictures like that. I just love stuff like that.
To go back to the heron.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where were you, and what kind of lens and did you use for this particular shot?
I was using my 200 to 600 lens,
Mhm.
and I was over at where, do you know where the Mary D. Hume is?
Yes.
I was right over in that area, right where there's like a circular dock walkway
Okay.
there. I was standing right there, and he flew right by me, and I saw that background, and I saw he was flying that way, so I just positioned myself, and then and what I do is to get those shots is I adjust the shutter speed accordingly. You know, your settings, but I also run it on electronic shutter is what I've been doing, and then you can get your frame rate. You're not just taking one picture; you're taking like 10.
That's what I was gonna ask, is it where you were?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and with the Sony, what's nice about the Sony and a lot of the newer cameras are coming out with is they have as a animal and human auto eye focus, so where it'll latch on to the eye of the animal or the person.
Wow.
Yes, and it'll lock on them and follow them as you're swinging by taking the picture.
Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Neat. So, were some of the rejects, what is the most difficult part about choosing the one that's the keeper, the one that you print?
One of my friends, Matt Coley, taught me. He's one of my guys I look up to. You know, for photography, he gives me a lot of advice and stuff like that. He's a really good friend, and always having the eye in focus. You know, those are the pictures you kind of want to keep. You know, and that one, that particular one, the eye was in focus. Some of the other ones, the body was in focus.
Okay.
But the eye was a little blurry, and that one right there, you can see the eye very clearly.
Yeah, you certainly can. And what about post-production? What do you do? Did you have to do a lot of enhancement in the development?
Not a little bit, you know, with adjustment of the lighting, because here, when you're taking pictures, you step 5 feet in any direction, the light changes, and you got to adjust your camera. Because I do run all my stuff manual, and you know, and that's something it's been a process of learning, you know, and your pictures turn out a lot better when you run everything manual.
And what do you do for the post-production?
I use my phone for all my
Wow.
which people are just amazed by that. My phone has more memory in it than my computer.
Okay.
So and it's nice because you could be on the road or something like that, and you can just download them to your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I have Photoshop and Lightroom are the two main ones I use.
Okay.
And usually it's just adjusting lighting, and then you can enhance some of the colors a little bit and stuff like
Sure.
that. But nothing where you're like actually like one thing I don't do very often is put like something in there that's not supposed to be there. You know, like putting another person in a
Okay.
picture or anything like that.
No composite.
No,
Okay.
I have done a few, but usually when I do that, I will tell people ahead of time, hey, this is a composite picture.
Sure.
You know.
And what do you use the Photoshop for and the Lightroom for? What are the different uses?
They're both actually, I think they're kind of similar in certain ways. It's just in the what I like about the Photoshop is it has all these different what they call them. There's a special name for them, but they're like filters.
Okay.
And what I'll do is I'll put mine usually in like an HDR, and what that does is it brings out all the lines of the picture. You know, the like say you're taking a picture of a person, it'll bring out the lines in their face a little bit more.
Okay.
And then I adjust the lighting from there and stuff like that. And so they're not too heavily like modified.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I shoot everything in RAW too, which is something that they have a JPEG and they have RAW. And the JPEG, you have just so much, it's more forgiving, and you can do so much more with the colors and stuff like that.
Sure. Now, how do you go about selecting what you photograph? Because, you know, it's a wide world out there. It's people, it's
Oh yeah.
Still life objects, animal life, landscapes.
Well, I just look at things and I'll give you a perfect example. Is Rob, a friend of mine. We were just getting done having lunch at one of the local establishments in town, and he rode by us on his bike, and he had a bike it's got an electronic front wheel on it, and he was.
Are you talking Rob Decker?
Yes, I think
Okay.
I think that's his last name. Yes,
That's him over there.
yes, and he rode by us, and he had that helmet on, which is like a Harley. Someone would wear it on a Harley Davidson.
Sure.
And he had his beard was just flapping in the wind, and I was like, I got to get a picture of that guy. And I told my friend, I said, Chris, this guy guy would be an awesome picture. And he goes, yes, he would. And we kind of laughed about it. And I went into Mart because that's where he went into, and I go there all the time too. So I went in there and saw him interact with some of the employees there, and I was like, okay, he seems like a pretty approachable guy. So I went and approached him, and I said, hey, introduced myself and told him what I was up to, and he said, I normally don't let people take he said, I'm normally not okay with people taking my picture, but he said, there's something about you that tells me I need to. And from there, so we went and I waited for him out in the parking lot, and he came out and he saw me, and I said, okay, start riding, and he rode. And I just started snapping away, and that's how Robin Rain came about, you know. And him and I, what's nice about it is I've gotten to know him, and he's a very interesting person,
yes.
Very nice guy.
A lot of us artists here in Brookings do know Rob.
Oh yeah,
so, he's a character.
Absolutely, he is.
Right. And the other thing is, I read in your bio where you use photography to find yourself.
Yeah.
Could you explain that a little bit more?
Well, when I was at the prison and I had to retire early due to an injury, I spent, probably like 4 or 5 years just being lost and not really knowing what to do with myself. And I was looking at different type of careers, and I was at the point where it's like I wanted to do something that would make me happy. Happiness was more than anything else, and what happened was I was in Spokane, Washington, not Spokane, I was in Walla Walla, Washington, visiting a friend, and I took a picture with my cell phone and I put it on Facebook, and it just went viral.
Oh wow.
It was a picture of a wagon wheel out in this field, and there was a bunch of that old grass growing around it, and it was the rolling hills over there, because Walla Walla's got those rolling hills.
Right.
And I did that in a black and white, and people just went crazy over that picture, and I was like, something just clicked. I was like, I need to get into this a little bit more, because and something else is I was having problems with like self-esteem, and I think a lot of people have self-esteem.
Yes, I think we do.
Yeah, yes, and we're our own worst critic,
Yes.
And I wanted something because that right there, that instance, it kind of boosted my self-esteem a little bit, So I was like, maybe there's something here with this. So when I got back into to Brookings, I went to Fred Meyer and went and bought a camera out of their case over there. I bought one of those Canon Rebels. It's what everybody starts out with, either a Canon or a Nikon.
Okay, neat.
And I chose the Canon, and that lasted, I say, about less than a month. And I sold that and went and bought a Fuji, and because I wanted more megapixels, I started reading articles, and they're like, more megapixels is where it's at, to get better picture quality. So I bought a Fuji, and that was an XT20, I think it was, and I bought that with a couple of lenses, and that lasted about 6 months, and I sold that to my uncle and bought an Olympus. And it just goes on, and I went from Olympus to Nikon, and just kept going up. And then finally, everybody was bragging about Sony and saying how Sony was by far the best out of all of them. And they all have their good and bad points.
Sure.
And some of my best pictures were taken with that Nikon. I had a Nikon D850.
Okay.
But I decided that, and it's real expensive to do that too when you switch camera systems. And so I decided to sell all my Nikon stuff, and I went and bought the Sony, and I've never looked back since. I've just been very happy with it.
Well, would you recommend that people skip all those in-between?
Yes.
And just go right from the simple camera to the Sony?
I seem to do everything the hard way.
Yeah.
I think I've noticed that about myself, but it was a good experience.
Yeah, I think that's kind of human nature.
Yeah. And but they all have their good points, those cameras I mentioned. The Olympus, the one thing they're good for is they're known for their weather sealing. So if you're going to go to like Alaska or somewhere like that, and very, very bad inclement weather, the Olympus is the one to have.
Sure.
And Sony are known for their weather sealing and stuff like that too. And here you need that. You can have sunshine one minute and it pouring down rain the next.
You need that. It's not the desert.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed that you print your images on different materials.
Yes.
And some of them are on metal, and other ones are on...
Acrylic, and then the stretched canvas.
Okay.
Yes, and it all depends on the picture. It's like that one over there that I took that one in Eureka, and that's done on it's on a metal, but it's what do they call that? It's brushed aluminum, and
Okay.
and it gives it a whole different look too,
Sure.
kind of a weathered look to it, and
Right.
I think it looks kind of neat.
And you decide that based on what the image is, what
Yes.
material you're gonna use?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and I really like the acrylics, and I like the metals too, and some of them I get done locally, and some of them which I use like Wrights,
Okay,
and get them done locally through them, or there's a couple of places online that I've used, and I've been very happy with all of
sure.
them.
Well, I think these guys are telling us we need to wrap it up.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying? Okay, well, I guess we need to wrap it up. First, I'd like to say thank you, Calvin, for doing the interview, and invite everybody to come down to the Manley Art Center. We're open Thursday through Saturday from 11 to 3, and see Calvin's show. It's a really terrific show.
And thank you.
You're welcome.